Before I actually go further into my presentation, I'll just connect a few dots first. I think it's great to see Mr. Parthiban speaking about India, and we are all proud Indians, by the way, and we all wish this country to go forward and become #1 in the world, right? I also tell you that he possesses all the characteristics of a true founder. I've studied many founders, including the one where I worked before. He's got all the qualities, and I wish him that one day his company becomes more than $1 billion company, Mr. Parthiban. I wish him all the success. I was also truly amazed to see the presentation, the virtual address today by one of the eminent engineers. I'll talk a little bit about the cleverness and the potency of technology that is going to play in our world. Amazing to actually hear him. I miss him. I wish I would have met him today. I think Shakti set a great tone, and I'll probably start connecting those dots again, Shakti, because he gave the vision of the Indian construction equipment industry. I'll use some of those slides there might be some duplication, so bear me with that, but we'll build the themes really what this conference can actually pick up later. I also want to tell you one more thing, that FPSI is doing great things, Shrikant. I think you've set some new benchmarks. And this organization I have actually watched, including their seminars across the world, and I think you are actually setting up the global standards, and all the team who have worked setting this presentation, really kudos to them, really kudos to them. And fluid power engineers, I can tell you that within the construction equipment, engine and powertrains are easy. They all go for linear innovation and linear development. They are important in our equipment, and they carry a huge amount of tech. But I'll give you my own experience that whenever we were wanting to invent or innovate something, the discussion would always start with hydraulics, because that's where the possibilities were immense. I also found that the fluid power engineers were the cleverest of people. I'm not saying just because I'm amongst you, I truly believe that. And now, of course, you have to combine your strength with electronics and what tech has to offer. So with that note, I think I'll take about 20 minutes. So before we go, we must understand the context, the world in which we are operating today, all right? I've never seen in my lifetime the geopolitical volatility that we are seeing today. And volatility, I don't know whether it captures the essence of the world. We are seeing the realigning of the world order, which was set post-World War II, and then the Cold War followed. So after that era, whatever you're seeing today is a realignment happening, and we'll probably come out of it in the next couple of years, despite some of the volatile leadership we have in some parts of the world. The latest World Economic Forum put unprecedented uncertainty. We've never seen this, maybe after COVID. COVID was really uncertain, and we weren't sure what's going to happen next week and next 15 days, but this is still probably after that I put it, we've never seen this uncertainty before. The world is moving through very high debt, $77 trillion, the highest ever. And the highest debt, guess where it is? It's in America, right? I'm not sure how they're going to pay it back. Just because dollar is good, they're enjoying that, and that's probably the highest risk, and we'll talk about that somewhere else. It's highly interconnected, fast-paced, complex, uncertain, ambiguous, but one thing is sure in this uncertainty is the dominance of tech. That much I can assure you that tech is going to drive us to the future, and we hope that future becomes better, right? Whether it is for India, whether it is for our people, but tech is going to drive everything, this much, we are sure. And the one thing we shouldn't forget, and those themes I'll touch upon, is the planet's survival. I'm not sure under this economic progress, are we really realizing what we are putting at peril? So we'll talk about that as well. So very quickly, there are three arenas where world is expressing their power play today. There are three axes. If you really carefully read, that's why not everything is military and defense. But military and defense, post-World War, it is still the dominant force. But if you see today, there's an equal war being fought on economic front. Who is the economic superpower of the world, right? Who controls the rare earth? Who controls those supply chains? And the third axis is actually called tech. And you will find that this tech actually defines the other two axes, right? And that's where the importance of innovation comes today. But tech is going to really define who becomes the eventual power of the world. But if we get away from this economic prosperity thing, there are two pillars which are going to define our existence or our next gen's existence next 30, 40 years. And those two pillars are very simple: prosperity of planet and prosperity of people. And prosperity may be more than wealth, it may be more than economic prosperity, right? But these two things are going to define what happens next. Look at what has happened in the last 200 years. The steam engine was invented in 1700s. That set off the industrialization of the world. Then came the gasoline engine and the diesel engine, and Mr. Parthiban, unfortunately, all invented in Europe. Maybe the next powertrain comes from here. Then came the semiconductors, then came the computer power, and now we're talking, Rajesh, Industry 4.0, and you, I know you're a great speaker on that. But what we have done is, in this process, we've generated the huge risk of global warming. The last number on this slide, 2 years ago, in a similar forum, I think I had written 40 gigatons. Today it is 53 gigatons in 2023. And 73% of that is caused by fossil fuels. 73%. The CO2 concentrations in 2 million years, the highest. If we go on this path, our planet is going to get warmer by 4.4 degrees. And IPCC 2018, and they started to, by the way, talk about the CO2 effect, came into existence before 1900s, I think. People knew. Scientists told us what's going to happen, but I think we've not listened. So we already crossed the threshold of 1.5 degrees, and we are now saying, can we control by 2? And we already know what's happening on the weather. So moving from this to construction, which is driving our world today, and I'll come to that. But global construction spend is something like $15 trillion. I think Shakti mentioned rightly, in India, we should be 1/3. So manufacturing, which is complete industrial machinery, and construction spend should be more like 1/3 of our economy if we have to really become prosperous as a nation, right? Therefore, this industry where we all operate actually is going to become good, and we have good things coming. Rising urbanization, all factors are positive except economic uncertainty. Everything else is going in the right direction, but we better be green on that. So Shakti mentioned about the growth of the Indian equipment. I remember in 2010, 2012, we said that construction equipment industry in India will double every year. Well, it has doubled every 7 or 8 years. It is cyclic, so I will not spend too much time on this slide. What's happening new now, which didn't happen before, is Gati and Shakti, right? And these two buzzwords define what today's India is. Gati is speed and Shakti is power, right? So there's a PM Gati Shakti plan, there's a vision, there are huge investments, the highs in roads and highways. So I will not repeat those numbers. I think Shakti touched upon that. There's a vision of 2030 ISEMA, which said we will be 250,000 units from 142,000 that Shakti mentioned before, right? And that says the capacity you need to build to supply this country's equipment capacity. But why should you limit your vision only to the Indian construction equipment manufacturers? There are examples we saw before that more than half of the world's capacity was made in India, whether it was Schwingstetter or Mr. Parthiban's example. So why can't we become the industrial nation where you actually take the lion's share of what's going to happen for the world? We got people power, we got tech power, we got government support, there's MHI working onto it. So what should be your vision if you can bring at the end of the conference today? I don't know whether you measure in billions of dollars or in terms of numbers, but why can't you be the global powerhouse of manufacturing in India? And today we are about 17, 18% of our GDP. Why can't this become 25%, which is where China went, right? Our sales 25 billion, but I just want to tell you that global equipment industry is more than 200 billion. Some number I read said 250 billion, 243 billion actually, the yellow table said 243 billion. So we in this industry, I think this is a message to ISMO, my request that you are talking exports of 2.5 billion, which is 10%. Can we become more? We today import more and export less, so in turn, that can be the next direction probably, I'm sure that will be taken up. And ISMO is saying they'll employ 6 million versus the 3 million, almost doubling the employment. It is a very diverse, high-tech industry. I didn't know anything about construction equipment when I joined 17, 18 years ago. I learned a lot, and my learning started with hydraulics, actually, on this one. And it's highly diverse, high-tech, very advanced, very versatile, and today, with all the emission norms and quality standards, you can actually rule the world with this. This is where action is happening, right? Now, what are the tech trends in this kind of space? Smart and connected. I remember when telematics was done on one of the companies, there was a debate whether it should be offered as an option. And that time, no customers bought it. It was electrical meters was the example given that they are the most IoT connected machine, electrical meters, 60,000 units. And that time, today, probably construction equipment is going to see not only connected, but smart. So telematics, IoT, I know there is a exhibition taking place on that. Data, AI-driven diagnostics, predictive maintenance, uptime, huge possibilities in this arena. Automation, autonomous, not so much in India because labor availability outside India is a huge question. And trained operator is a much, much bigger question, you know, even though the capacity and equipment are there. So that's going to play a huge role outside India, and we can certainly take our play by making at least assisted systems on construction equipment. Alternate fuels-driven sustainability, which is natural gas, biofuels, e-fuels we are talking about now, and hydrogen. I think Shakti mentioned hydrogen. Hybrid and electric, I'll mention about this. Machine efficiency and productivity, some of these things we will cover in the subsequent presentation. But first tell you that there is called science-based targets each company has to achieve. I don't see many companies talking about net zero in India, though there are some talks, but I'm not sure how big is the action is. But most important for machinery manufacturers, something called scope 3 emissions. And I'm not sure that whether we know that these emissions are measured over 10 years. So if you are saying we'll be 50% down, Prime Minister said 2017 net zero or 2050 or 2017 net zero, and there's a 50% reduction much before that, which means all the machines you have made in 10 years, if you are measuring 2030, all the machines from 2020 to 2030 will be part of that fleet. And what you are generating will be termed as your scope 3 emissions. Scope 1 and 2 is easy. Scope 3 is most difficult, and that is where you need to start almost plan 10 years ahead, including the tech that you want to bring in to cut emissions. So coming back to fluid power in our kind of machinery, both tractors and the space of construction equipment. Of course, you know that it is hydraulics and pneumatics. Each systems very popular coming in the machines. Certainly outside India, EH is the way to go because of automation and other things I talked about. Seals, filters, fluids. You know, the first savings in construction equipment during when we were dabbling with saving the diesel fuel, you know from where it came? Pipes. There were losses happening in the pipes, and we were like learning, we are dabbling, you know, how to bring energy efficiency. I think I remember 5 or 7% just by increasing the diameter of the pipe. And then we went to the valves, then automation, then electronics, and there were numbers, huge numbers, unbelievable numbers, which eventually came through. Power density is important. Precision and control is what you drive in, and that's really where your innovation comes. You are the really experts in your field, right? And I have hats off to what you do actually with your tech. Durability and machine performance, of course, these are the key drivers for that. So what should be your energy vectors as you go innovating the future? So one we said that you got to be the powerhouse of manufacturing in India, right? So enhance your capacity, have your own machine tools, as Parthiban's clarion call. But on tech side, what should you really do? So first part is the energy efficiency. It will do two things. I remember construction sector was hit with the biggest recessionary pressure when diesel prices went up. I don't remember the year, but it was 2014, 2015, something like that, where $100, more than $100 a barrel, unlike what you see today. And suddenly, I think Shakti mentioned cost of ownership, the TCO, it was suddenly going up. So customer no longer made money on his machine. It was his bread and butter. So what happened? We said, let's use energy efficiency, and we reduce his cost of ownership. And 70% more or less of his cost was diesel. A lot of them were driving machines, a lot of them were hiring operators, but there was a huge chunk of diesel that was being spent on machine. That was the driver, economic driver. But today the driver has to be cutting your CO2 emissions, doing the same work, no machine degradation of performance. But what if you were to reduce that fuel by 40%? And that's not a theoretical target. So after 140%, you move to another 40%, and those are the numbers real world achieved. So they are no just in-air numbers. So if you have to go to 40% reduction of the fuel consumption, what you have to do? And majority of that really comes from one, hydraulics, second, how you connect the hydraulics, where it becomes smart, whether it is flow on demand, whether it is adjusting the flow, etc., etc. Then comes load sensing hydraulics, energy recovery systems, which eventually also help into EV. So how many of you are really investing into that? I know some of the multinational work a lot, and one of my goals is always to travel around the world and see who is doing the most innovation, right? So again, how much are you doing is a question mark, and are you really discussing that over the next couple of days of your... The second part is EV and hybrids. So where is the talk of EV in tractors and construction equipment machinery? Cars have gone forward. Two-wheelers were the first. Where is construction equipment, right? So I know there is on ICMR's vision plan, Shakti mentioned both these vectors, but it's time to put some hard numbers. How many of our machines will become electric? But more so, would customer buy electric machine? You can make electric, but would customer buy it? So where is a cost of ownership equation and economics driving the EV and hybrid part? Hybrid were always debated, even in car world. I remember when I used to have my ex-automotive discussion, colleagues of ex-automotive, they were always debating hybrid. It's a waste of money. Put all your investment into, I always used to say hybrid is a bridge. And today, hybrid cars probably oversold the electric cars. If I saw some of the previous numbers, I don't know the latest. So you have huge work to do into that space as well. The third vector is precision control and smart systems. That is the need of the hour. You can't have hydraulics without electronics. I know that we spoke about earlier that this presentation theme was actually going in that direction, so it'll be good to see that. Environment and sustainability, it's not just an ESG word you put into your shareholder statement. There's real work I think you should do, whether it is biodegradable, fluid, leak-free joints, noise control strategies. They all require engineering and tech solutions to drive a better planet, and better tech that you're going to bring for that. So there are three really emission reduction pathways every company can adopt, right? The pathway one, energy efficiency. I put 10 to 25% on that because most of the manufacturers today have already progressed by building in tech that already reduces the fuel efficiency, but you can start with that goal. Pathway two is hybrid, or you use alternate fuels, and pathway 3 and 4 is really on zero emission vehicles, which may be 2035, maybe later, but you have to do it one day. For sure, you have to do one day. There's some real example of hybrid tech that is evolving in C. I'm not sure the success of that is as good as automotive, but people have demonstrated. There's a second wave of popularity coming into that space. Electric construction is really driving, and the most pull trend from the market I saw was with the rental companies, because they have to also justify their emissions. So a lot of the large rental companies, whether it is the US or Europe, were actually mandated to buy zero emission vehicles to reduce their emissions. So this will come in India, and this is an area. China started on EVs when nobody was talking EVs. Why they control the rare earth? Not because they have the rare earth. We also have the rare earth. Because they started 15, 20 years ago. They saw the vectors. They don't fight wars. They plan ahead, actually, right? So this is where I think our leads are coming. How we can lead from here is tech which has not yet become popular, but can we become the leaders in 10 years, 15 years time on that? But people have already done it. You can see examples. Yeah, bigger machines as well, though I have my doubt on bigger machines, but there are people who have taken this forward. Hydrogen has a role, right? I think 2 commercial vehicle manufacturers in India are working on these powertrains. We will see how construction equipment adopts this, but this is a possibility. So coming back, have some real targets in each of these vectors, build it part of your vision, establish a win-win with your OEM partners, and as I have seen personally, you have helped drive the innovation leadership of construction equipment. You were always equal partners. You've always done well, right? So continue and set the direction for each of the OEMs also to follow, okay? So in summary, I have 1 minute and 22 seconds left. So Indian construction offers a huge, real opportunity. 25 billion, I'm sure, will be achieved, maybe more. Energy efficiency, electric, hybrid, key for the future of CE. Both OEMs and you have to help it, drive it. You certainly can play a leading role in each of these vectors. And while there's a record GHG emissions, which is more than 53 gigatons of CO2, we have the tech solutions. We had the tech solutions even 20 years, 30 years ago. It is the political will and, I must say, a little bit loud voice of the scientists and engineers. You should feel confident to drive it wherever you are in your boards. It's critical to drive efficiency as your bridge strategy to achieving this future and hit the net zero goals, and with the will to drive, eventually doing why? Because of prosperity of planet where we live in and prosperity of people as humanity where we are there today, right? So thank you very much.